the Senior Hour, which is sponsored by Providence Holy Cross Medical Center, Hestia Med Spa, and Comfort Keepers in Home Care. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host,
Dr. Thomas Polucki,
on your hometown station, 98.1 FM, AM 1220 KHTS. This is a show for, about, and by seniors, giving information to enhance your quality of life. And speaking of quality of life, we have the one and only Marwa Kilani here. She's a palliative care specialist from Providence Holy Cross. It's good to see you again.
Thank you so much for welcoming me.
Years.
It's been forever.
Oh, my goodness.
I know. Yeah. Thank you for welcoming me. I'm really excited to be here.
Terrific. Okay, let's start with what is palliative care?
So palliative care is a medical specialty that cares for patients who have serious illness and really tries to enhance their quality of life. So really falls right in line with our show today. It is delivered by a group of specialists, not just physicians, but also nurses, social workers, chaplains, therapists, pharmacists. And it's really important to provide that extra layer of support for patients who have serious illness so that we can attend to their psychosocial well-being, their symptom management, their emotional state, because having a serious illness is pretty intense. And typically there's a lot of different specialists involved, and they need almost like a cheerleading support team to help get them through this crisis, get them to a point where they're at a maintenance level and getting good treatment and feeling well supported by the entire medical team.
Okay, so I had a misconception about your role.
Yeah.
I thought that you were kind of like the angel.
Yeah.
So that is not the case?
Not at all. No,
Okay.
I mean, I may be an angel in other ways,
Okay.
but
What do you mean you may be? You are. You are.
No, we don't just deal with end of life conditions. So actually what we have found, and particularly within our Providence system, is the earlier palliative care is involved with the patient who has a serious illness, the better. They get better quality care, better coordination of their care, and overall their quality of life is improved.
Wow, that's outstanding.
Yeah, so palliative care has really been a fantastic component to our patients' care plans. Now, it is true that palliative care sees the most seriously ill patients. So some of those patients do end up going down the path and towards the end of life of their disease state, their journey in life. But for the most part, I would say it's about an 80-20 rule, where 80% of our patients are dealing with a serious illness, and they're going on to live, pretty intense lives. They go out into the community, continue with their treatments, and we're there to enhance that.
Wow.
So the other 20% are transitioning. Yeah. They're transitioning, and that's where the hospice component comes in, where we start talking about end-of-life care. But for the good 80% of those patients, we're really focusing on making sure those patients understand their disease state, provide advanced care planning, manage their symptoms, handle their psychosocial dynamics, because that often is a problem, and get them on a path where they're feeling confident about the disease that they're dealing with.
That's awesome. So this is not like a typical internship. How did you come to specialize in this? You are an internist, yes?
Yes.
And so what does that look like? How did you go from the family doctor to the case manager in critically ill patients?
Well, I always after residency, I always dealt with hospitalized patients, where typically that's where you see the most seriously ill patients. And I was able to undergo some extra training to allow me to sit for the boards for palliative care. And so I became board certified in 2010, I believe it was, and have been doing palliative care ever since. So it is it's a niche specialty that any physician is able to undergo a fellowship and sit for the boards.
But it sure takes a special person to do this work.
It's not for everybody.
Yeah,
it's definitely not for everybody.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
You have to have a love of people.
Yeah.
And more importantly, a love of yourself.
Yeah, and the patience to sit with patients and the patience to sit with patients, because it's a time consuming process, and that's the time that doctors don't have.
Right.
And that's why our specialty is valued, because of the time that we spend with our patients. And we really want to make sure that we're seeing the patient beyond the disease. So it's not just about their heart failure or their cancer, but it's who they are and what they're experiencing from this disease state.
Yeah, and it's also counseling for the family as well as the patient.
Goodness.
I mean, it's got to be rough on everybody.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And oftentimes it's heavier on the family than sometimes the patients themselves. So it's pretty intense.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also long-term care insurance can come in handy. I think I've explained to you before my situation and how Russ said, no, we don't need that stuff. Yeah. I got it anyway. And I am so thankful because he ended up having 24/7 care.
That's correct. Yeah.
Because I couldn't take care of him. Mm-mm. And that's when this long-term care insurance came in. I mean, they paid over 2/3 of the 24/7. And that was an incredible amount of money.
Yeah, I might need to get some tips on that because I'm having the hardest time getting my parents' long-term care insurance enacted. So
I hope they don't have it now.
They have it. They've had it. They've had it for several years. But it's hard to get the insurance to actually.
Well, there is a waiting period.
Yes, there is. Yes,
you've got so many days that you have to wait before it will kick in.
Yeah, yeah.
But no, keep at it.
Oh, well, we keep pushing.
Keep at it.
Oh, yeah.
Because eventually they have no choice. Yeah. This is what has been paid for.
That's correct.
And you better, by golly, pull through with it.
Exactly.
Yeah. You have to keep it. I fortunately didn't have that problem.
Oh, thank goodness.
Because I had someone who did the pushing for me, which was helpful. The person I purchased it from, he was such a big help.
Oh, wow.
He really was.
That's a great advocate. Yeah.
Yes, he was. But
excellent.
Believe me, it is well worth getting, no matter what. And I guess some of it is expensive.
Very expensive,
Because I just got a bill for it. For my long-term care that will go from April to next April.
Oh my goodness!
So, and it's over $2,000. But believe me,
I'm sure it's worth it.
Is,
a peace of mind.
Yeah, that's not even one day out of pocket.
Not at all.
Yeah,
not at all.
That's
You're
not even
right.
a trip to the emergency room. So
well, I'm having a fight with my kids now. You don't need that stuff. I said, excuse me.
Yeah, just keep it in
I'm
place.
paying the bill, not you. Mm-hmm. Even though they have semi-control of my checkbook, which...
So if I may shift gears here for a second, I'm intrigued. I got to know. So you're UCSD, yeah?
Yeah, I went to UCSD for medical school.
Awesome.
Yeah.
How did you wind up back here in not Santa Clarita, you're in Mission Hills, yeah?
Yeah, so I practice out of Holy Cross in Mission Hills. Actually, I grew up here. I grew up in the Valley. My parents still live in Northridge. My mom and my dad both worked at Holy Cross in the 70s and 80s. And so Holy Cross is kind of been a second home to me always. Had my first stitches there when I was 2. So Holy Cross is a pretty fantastic place. So.
Yeah, from everything I can see. I mean, everybody that we've had here is amazing, outstanding. So, and they sponsor our show. So
yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, it is Holy Cross is very deep in this community and has several relationships throughout the Santa Clarita Valley and is very committed to the care that they're providing here.
Well, they have offices here, don't they?
Yes, they do.
Large building.
And there's an affiliation with Facey Medical Group. So there's, very well established relationships.
Yeah, a little while ago, for a minute or two, I was involved with their bariatric surgery counseling. Like they make their patients, before they're even a candidate for the surgery, before they're qualified, they have to go through nearly a year of counseling.
Yes.
And I came in and talked to that group a bit because, I'm more into the long-term management, the diet,
Absolutely.
the exercise, and they want their candidates for surgery to go through that process as well. So I'm a pretty big fan of Providence Holy Cross.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot. I mean, it's a team effort. And the one thing I can say about the hospital is, they're so deeply set in the community that, I've taken care of my colleagues, family members in the hospital, and I always tell them, one day it may be my parents that
it's eventually going to be all of us.
It's all it's all a rotation, and today one of those colleagues told me it's a circle of life, and it's just how it is. Yeah. So that's our commitment to the community, is to really ensure that our community stays as healthy as possible, really is well supported, and make sure that we get them the best care possible under any circumstance. So, and I'm lucky to have this position as a palliative care provider, because that really falls in line with our mission and our values.
Yeah. And again, when you hear hospice, when you hear palliative care, you're usually thinking terminal. You're not. Right. I was very surprised to hear that you have an 80%.
Yeah. Our palliative patients are very much still undergoing their active treatments.
Okay.
So that includes, I will tell you, I'm frequently consulting oncologists to get on board with cases because, maybe patients need a second opinion or they need a different treatment regimen. So oftentimes we're trying to align ourselves with the goals of care and with the quality of life that our patients are asking for to try to prolong their lives, but to make sure that they're living well. So we are very much in line with continuing whatever treatments they want, as long as it's not interfering with their quality of life.
Right. Well, you see that, especially in serious illnesses where patients are completely overwhelmed with the entire experience, the entire... it's one thing to observe it from the outside. It's another to be, as soon as even the most detached, logical person gets injured or critically ill, they become a 5-year-old.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. How many trauma patients we get at Holy Cross that are severely debilitated and no longer have the ability to manage their own affairs. Yeah. And we almost have to start from scratch with these families because of how much disability we're seeing. So it requires a very extensive team. And on the hospice end of things, hospice is... It is about end-of-life care. The way that I like to explain hospice is that it's really about the terminal phase of an illness, where you're no longer going through these curative treatments, you're no longer getting the maintenance treatments. but you're just focusing on comfort. And that could be anywhere from days to months, depending on what the patients want. If the patient tells me, you know what, I just got this new diagnosis of cancer, I know it's all over the place, and I don't want any chemo, I'm happy to say that is your choice, and we're here to support you. But the way that I would care for that patient is to ensure that they're getting good treatment and good support, either through a hospice team or to ensure that they're seeing a care provider on a long-term basis as an outpatient.
Right. So can I just,
Yes.
ask a few detailed questions about that? So the patient says, I just got told I've got really bad cancer. It's all over the place. I don't want chemo. I don't want radiation. I don't want surgery. The oncologist has already told me that none of that stuff is going to change anything. What do you do in that situation if you are called in as far as, okay, so we know you don't want those things, but you don't necessarily want to die either.
Right.
Because this is like kind of where I fit into that equation. And I was wondering, how does that work as far as getting somebody outside of the chemotherapy, outside of the radiation, outside of the surgery? How does Providence Holy Cross handle that?
I think first we need to establish those goals. So my role is to make sure that that patient really does understand what's being offered and to ensure that they want to seek out a different path. And maybe you're right. There are patients of ours who definitely don't want the chemos and the radiation types of treatments and want to seek out alternative methods. And we are fully in support of that. Again, it goes back to what is this patient value?
Right.
And if this patient values alternative treatments, then we need to support them through that. So unfortunately, we don't have many resources to share with them for alternative treatments. We do have a lot of, community support, but we don't have direct resources. Like we can't schedule appointments for them in those types of clinics. We really don't know what's out there and what is legitimate and good treatments
evidence-based
versus ones that may unfortunately give some false hope. We just don't know.
Right.
So
it's interesting because when I went into my second round of cancer,
yes,
the Dr. Black gave me an alternative. You can have treatment and live for who knows how long, or you can refuse it and possibly die within 6 months from the actual cancer itself. And I'm thinking, whoa, to be given alternatives like that, it blew my mind because I thought, who in their right mind would refuse to get better? But there are some people who don't want to go through that. I mean, going through chemotherapy is not the most pleasant thing in the world.
No, it's not.
Because it has lots of bad side effects, but it also has the positive side effect, which helped me.
Right.
And I'm free of it now.
Oh, thank goodness.
Thank goodness. And we need to take a break, don't we? I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Thomas Polucki, on your hometown station, 98.1 FM, AM 1220 KHTS. Welcome back to the Senior Hour. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Thomas Polucki, on your hometown station, 98.1 FM, AM 1220 KHTS. And we're speaking with Dr. Marwa Kilani, who is a palliative care specialist over at Providence Holy Cross. And let's continue with this very interesting conversation.
Yeah. So one of the things that we were talking off the air about was a study that we did on essential oils. We used essential oils for some of our cancer patients, infused the essential oils overnight for patients who were in-house for more than two nights. And the study showed that those patients, when they were surveyed pre and after, did feel the way that I would describe it is they felt tremendously relaxed. Yeah. Their well-being was improved. And we've even had patients ask for it again, even though the study's now closed, have asked for it again to be infused in their rooms when they undergo their treatments at the hospital.
Now, what are essential oils?
So the essential oils are the natural oils that you can extract from nature. This particular oil was lavender oil, and we infused it through a diffuser that is medical grade, and allowed for that patient to inhale it,
absorb it into
their system. And I mean, it was extremely
calming,
very calming, and it really enhanced their hospital stay and made it, pleasant, if you will, if you can think of a hospital stay as being pleasant. Mm-hmm. It really did help them. So that study is actually being published.
Yeah, that's huge. Because one of the things, the smell is so just hardwired into our emotional well-being. And as soon as you walk into most hospitals, there's a particular smell that is not very relaxing. It's that antiseptic, very sterile, clinical, pungent environment. And that's under the best case scenario. It only goes downhill from there. So to have something as simple as something pleasant to smell. I mean, casinos do this.
That's
hotels
true.
do this.
Yeah.
Spas do this. And to think that you need a published study in order to make it happen in a hospital where people are really stressed out for the most part, I think is a little backward in the thinking.
I agree. And when it comes to patient care, our hands are so tied because of all the regulations and such. So we do the best we can, but it was approved by our review board, which oversees all the research.
Another reason I love Providence Holy Cross. I mean,
oh yeah, we're very.
This is why.
Yes.
I mean, they stand out. They're thinking instead of just counting beans.
Absolutely.
Now, how do you feel about medical marijuana?
We actually have, and studies are confirming the effectiveness of medical marijuana for particular symptoms, and such as seizures, pain, appetite. It is something that is pretty widely utilized, particularly in the cancer realm. So it's something it's very well supported. We even have, your medical grade medical marijuana, the FDA approved component. So the fact that the FDA appreciates medical marijuana is allows for me to feel very comfortable in recommending medical grade marijuana for our patients.
I've used it before, and it's extremely effective.
Yeah. And
you have to be careful how much you take.
Absolutely.
Because you don't want to get up.
You don't want to be dopey. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And you can take very, very, very little of it, and it's very effective.
It has to be from a really good vendor, somebody that is very well established, not just some pop-up vendor that just suddenly appears in town, but somebody who can actually sit and listen to what your needs are, because they need to be able to dose it appropriately and make sure that they're not giving you too much.
That's true. Well, my son used to have a dispensary up in Rosamond, I believe. Mm-hmm. And he had a medical doctor who was a friend of his up there and worked with him to help him make sure that the dosages were good for each person who came in.
Yeah, there's a lot of studies to demonstrate the effectiveness.
Oh, it was very effective for me. Very.
Yes, I'm glad. I'm
really
glad.
Was. And
did it help pain for you?
Oh, yes. That's where it helped.
Yeah.
The pain. Because I was having problems with arthritis, a while ago. And then I went through both of the cancer sessions, and that was not pleasant either.
Yeah.
And that helped.
Yeah, for our seniors, I would recommend that it is closely monitored and make sure that you're getting it from a reputable dispensary, and that somebody else within your family is overseeing that dosages as well.
And
that dosing
when kids
regimen
have to take care of their parents, they make sure everything is right.
Absolutely, because
Mother, you don't do that. Mother, slow down. So I have a tendency to get up and go.
Yes, we know. We know how active you are. I've seen you bolt out of here when the show's done.
But with having to use that thing, makes a big difference, because I don't trust myself walking alone, with nothing to hold on to. So that's where they keep saying, Mom, slow down.
No.
Which is sometimes very hard to do.
Yes.
But I'm a good girl. I behave myself, especially when I'm shouted at.
So again, back to the progression of going from a family doctor in the hospital setting to a palliative care specialist, and you have to be certified. You're board certified in palliative care, so I'm sure I have a few certifications, and they're all as hard as conventional school was.
Yes.
And a lot of people just, you see board diplomat, certified and this and that. And few people realize that, okay, so you're like a double doctor. Like you did your dues as a doctor and then you're certified, which is just as much work as the original diploma in many cases.
Yeah. And all subspecialists have to do some extra training for the subspecialty that they're in. So for instance,
so can I just ask, what does the certification in palliative care look like? I know what mine involved. It was brutal. Mm-hmm. It was the hardest thing I ever did, and I'm like a professional student. So what is the certification in palliative care?
So you have to, at this time, you have to undergo a fellowship. Mm-hmm. You have to go to an academic center and undergo a fellowship and spend time being a fellow, which is a learner, a person that's learning about this subspecialty dedicated to palliative medicine. And then you have to sit for the boards. But you also have to demonstrate competency by showing them that you've seen X number of patients, you've done X number of consultations during your training, you've dealt with X number of hospice patients, just to ensure that you are equipped to actually even sit for the boards.
Right.
Good heavens, that's a lot.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
So what length of time does this normally take?
Typically, it's 1 to 2 years. It depends on the program and also the student who may want to do some research or not, or, depending on also there are now community-based fellowships. We're doing a community-based fellowship at our hospital, actually, in palliative care. So those fellows are actually sitting for a master's in palliative care first, and then they go and do the clinical component. So it's a little
lengthy.
Longer. Yeah, so that's a 3-year program. But, when you have a passion for a particular field that you're in, you know you will pursue it because
absolutely.
it's giving you, it's filling your bucket, right? It's enhancing your own personal quality of life.
That's exactly right. I can attest to that because I was a typist. I loved typing, and I was 135 words a minute.
God.
I mean, I was really, really fast.
Oh my goodness.
And but that's what I loved to do, and I zeroed in on that. And that's how I made a living for almost 40 years.
Yeah.
Out of my own home, for the most part, which was so much nicer because I was able to be there with my kids, with them growing up, and made all the difference in the world.
But you see, you had that passion.
That's right.
And
that's what it takes.
And that's what you do. That's what you do.
That's what it takes. Really does. And I can sit at the typewriter now and just peck away like crazy. I love it. I just love it. I do all of this stuff.
So if anybody out there in the community needs any typing, I can assure you Barbara would pick it up for you.
Well, I did for a lot of people because I would go pick it up, bring it home, take care of it, deliver it back to them, and I loved it. And then I was told, well, you're wasting a lot of time picking up and delivering. Why don't you hire a delivery service? So that's what I did. And what a difference it made. I didn't have to get up and get dressed and go there and go back and have so little time to actually work. But I could stop at 4 p.m. instead of 10 at night, But I was at home, and that was what was important.
Yeah, now a lot of people are doing it from home, doing even doctors, or telehealth is now a thing. Yeah. When I was doing it prior to COVID, everybody looked at me like, how can you do that? That's not real. That can't be real. I was like, I have patients that I've never seen. I have patients in other countries, and they are getting better. Mm-hmm. And they were like, no, that's not real. That's psychosomatic. It wasn't a real problem in the first place. I was like, oh yeah, it's real, and it's really happening. And then COVID happened, and people couldn't see their doctors for a couple of years. Yeah. Like, I mean, yes, it was a major problem. And I read your article, the article that was written for you about like what happened like Christmas 2020 or that, you know what I'm talking about, LA Times or something like that. Mm-hmm. Here's the thing about these past 2 years. The people who were at high risk for COVID were also the people who were at high risk for everything else.
Everything else, yes.
Everything else. And everything got pushed on the back burner. And I don't know that we're even still out of the woods on that stuff yet.
No, we're not at all. We're not at all. And I think that a lot of people did not get enough care in these last few years. And we're now seeing the effects of that. Yeah. So unfortunately, our patients are coming in very sick, much sicker than they've been. The acuity is higher. I will have to say we're doing a lot more on an outpatient basis, though, too. Yeah. But within the hospital setting, it's very intense.
Yeah, yeah. So now we have the telehealth. Like now, you don't necessarily have to type 130, which is insane. People don't even I don't talk that fast right now. I can't talk that fast. But that's stupid fast. But now it's all electronic. I had a friend of ours who was looking for a typist, and they're expensive now. They're real because nobody knows how to type anymore. Yeah. And looking for a typist, and I was like, "Give me your phone. Let me show you something." And we put on the dictation. And he was like, "Oh, this is pretty good." You know? So everything's changing. Everything's changing, and some of it's for the better. But people need one thing that AI will never really get, because they can crunch the algorithms as good as any protocol in any hospital, but they can't offer the compassion. Mm-mm. They're not going to be there to guide a person through some pretty scary stuff.
Yeah, and that's where our team comes in. especially our collaboration with our spiritual care department and all of our nursing and social work departments. Nothing can replace, a hand that's being held or,
exactly
a hug
right.
that's being given.
Absolutely.
You can't, there's just, just an ear that sits and listens to that person. And it's not going that I can assure, and I'm thankful. I think that my specialty will be the last to be taken over by AI. And
Right.
what's that, CPG or what is it called?
Chat GTP.
Chat BT or I don't know.
Yeah.
I can never get it right.
Yeah, and that's got everybody scared.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, on that note, we're going to take our final break and we'll come back and finish up on the senior hour, AM 1220, KHTS, FM 98.1, hometownstation.com.
Back to the senior hour. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Thomas Polucki, on your hometown station, 98.1 FM, AM 1220, KHTS. And our guest today has been Dr. Marwa Kilani, a palliative care specialist at Providence Holy Cross. Yes, and we were going to make
we have
special announcement.
Yeah, we have one announcement. Holy Cross is going to be having a stroke fair, which is coming up in May 27th, at the Las Palmas Senior Center, which is in the San Fernando Valley. And what they plan on having at the stroke fair, it's actually stroke prevention fair, is the ability to have your EKG read. They can look at your carotid ultrasounds to see if you have any plaques. They'll check your glucose levels, also check your blood pressure to make sure you're not having any issues with your blood pressure, having hypertension, which is a big risk factor for strokes, provide nutritional support, therapies, all the different types of physical therapy. Colleagues will be there. So we're hoping for it to be a really great event, and I will be there to provide some advanced care planning, because that's a big component of being an adult, is to make your wishes known and make sure that you have somebody to be your decision maker in the event that something may happen to you.
Well, now, where is Las Palmas Senior Center?
I believe it's in the North San Fernando Valley.
Interesting.
Okay, we'll Google it.
Yes, yes, we'll Google it. I'm sure you'll get like some type of press release about it, but I just got advance notice that it was the date and the location has been arranged.
That's
and it's
terrific.
From 9 to 12, I believe. 8 to 12. May 27th.
I bet it will be busy. Do you have to make an appointment, or
No.
you just attend?
No, just attend. There'll be
stand in line.
there'll be snacks and treats and lots of different booths and lots of vendors, and so it should be a pretty fun event.
Yeah, sounds like it would be very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a senior center in the North Valley, and is it a satellite of Holy Cross, or you're just having the event there?
We're having the event there.
Right. Okay, so you're sponsoring the event, stroke prevention, screenings. So you will have a Doppler ultrasound there,
Yes.
and obviously blood pressure. That makes
and
sense.
we'll be checking sugars and even hemoglobin A1Cs to see, if
Right there on the spot.
Right there on the spot.
With
Point
like
of
a
care.
finger stick?
Finger stick.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So we're pretty excited. We don't want anything, we don't want our patients to have to return for results and things. We want to give them the results right on the spot.
Yeah, that is a beautiful thing. And again, another thing about Providence Holy Cross, I don't know too many hospitals that go out into the community like that, doing these health fairs.
Yeah.
That used to be, I've done countless. Rarely, if ever, do you see a hospital come out and be involved with that. Yeah. So, again, another reason Providence is above and beyond.
I'm very blessed to work there.
Yeah.
And you've been there how long?
I'm going on 18 years.
18 years.
been a while.
Well, I've done 18 years here.
That's pretty fantastic.
Yeah, more than that.
Every Wednesday,
Yep.
with few exceptions. Yeah, I've loved it. Every minute of it. Every minute of it.
Yeah. I think it's been more than 20 years, Barb.
Has it?
Yeah. Yeah, because that's when I started here. So,
Then I
Yeah,
was
over-
working in Canyon.
yeah,
Country.
yeah.
Is that where you
The old
came over
station.
there?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
20 years?
Yep.
Whoa. That's amazing.
Time will go.
20 years.
Okay, so
Fantastic.
one last reminder, Providence Holy Cross is sponsoring a stroke prevention health fair at a senior center in the North Valley. Can we get the details on that one more
Yeah,
time?
absolutely. It's Las Palmas Senior Center.
Las Palmas.
Yep.
Okay.
And it's on May 27th.
On
from
May
8 to
27th.
12 in the morning. I believe it's a Saturday.
Saturday.
Okay. Sounds great.
And we'll give you the address and apparently there's plenty of parking, lots of parking for our seniors.
Good.
And that was one of the reasons why they chose this facility, because I think the parking was pretty fantastic.
Got it.
And we'll get the details so that it can be placed on your website.
Yeah, sounds great. Thank you so much. Dr. Marwa Kilani, Director of Palliative Care at Providence Holy Cross. It's been a pleasure always.
Thank you so
so much for
Absolutely.